Fantasy Baseball Deck, everybody. This is Austin, and specifically this episode, just like usual, I want to go over the most notable free agents available, again, most likely in your Fantasy Baseball League, regardless of the website or format, who is really hot right now and who could absolutely help you depending on your scarcity of position players and injuries and different things. So let's go ahead and jump into the content. I should go ahead and share my screen here and go to Lane Thomas. Lane Thomas is 55% owned in leagues. Very likely he's already taken as in his specific position of outfielder. If we go to eligibility, he is primarily, and I hope this doesn't mess everything up, primarily a left fielder. So he is the third most productive left fielder in all of fantasy so far this year. In fact, he's only 55% owned is pretty wild given that we're already past the halfway point in the year. But the stats on Lane Thomas specifically so far this season, super productive player. He is the every single day leadoff hitter for the Washington Nationals, and it's kind of overlooked probably because he is a National, but overall very, very productive. The last 2 weeks, he is third in all of Major League Baseball, no matter who you're talking about. All of Major League Baseball, he is third in total bases, and he's seventh in fantasy points. The last month overall, Lane Thomas is eighth in total bases and 11th in points scored of any batter, available. So super productive player. He plays every single day. Also, I think that's what's important and why, if you don't have Lane Thomas on your team yet, to make space for him, he's super valuable because he is on a 1-year contract. The Nationals are not playing for the playoffs this year. If anything, they're still in rebuild mode. He's a 27-year-old player, obviously super productive, but this is absolutely somebody that they will move at the deadline because he's only on a 1-year contract. They probably have no intentions of re-signing him. They're going to drop him off to get prospects. So I think of 3 teams that are currently underperforming or looking to be in the hunt for the playoffs come trade deadline. Brewers, who are currently in second place behind the Cincinnati Reds, are not getting hardly any production out of their outfielders that aren't named Christian Yelich. The Dodgers are wildly underperforming in the outfield, especially with Mookie Betts comes into second base. Their outfield is pretty poor, and they have too much money sunk into that team to not contend for the playoffs. I imagine that they're always have a super deep farm system. It won't take a ton, at least for them, to acquire Lane Davis. And as well as the Yankees, anyone who is not named Aaron Judge, who is currently hurt, and the Yankees just overall pressure to succeed every year, absolutely will be buyers at the deadline. So I expect Lane Thomas to get traded. Will he be the leadoff hitter at the next spot that he goes to? Kind of depends. I think he absolutely can, and that he should probably of any of those 3 teams I just mentioned. But this is a player that will only gain value, especially around the trade deadline. So Lane Thomas, if he's available, make space for him. That's a serious request. Do that or else. Anyways, on to Jordan Westburg. He debuted on Monday, the 26th. June 26th. He is the number 3 prospect in all of the Orioles system, and he is the number 33 prospect in all of Major League Baseball. So with all of the big news surrounding Elly De La Cruz and Shohei Ohtani basically running away for the MVP, lots of things going on, the Reds being super hot, Jordan Westburg's debut kind of went under the radar. Top, again, 33 number 33 overall prospect, getting called up to the majors to a top 15 offense already. That is the Baltimore Orioles. Pretty exciting. His overall, okay, so he's going to be hitting at the bottom of the order. The value is primarily he is a shortstop. But he has already played in his first 3 Major League games. He's played 2 games at second base and 1 game at third base. So essentially, this is a player who's going to gain eligibility elsewhere. That's not, shortstop, given that Gunnar Henderson is going to get most of the reps those days. And when Gunnar Henderson isn't at shortstop, Jorge Mateo is plenty good defensively and fast enough playing at the 9. Hitting in the 9 hole, Jordan Westburg will absolutely be, again, between second base and third base. So look for him to gain that eligibility. So that's obviously valuable. He hasn't had that many at-bats, only 12 at-bats, hitting .417 to start out his career. That's obviously great. But I guess the rundown on Jordan Westburg is that He is more of a power over contact hitter. So he is going to be susceptible to strikeouts kind of as we move on, as they get more and more scouting reports on him and understand how to pitch him. So expect him to strike out more, but he has a healthy 11% walk rate to sort of balance out that, and offset that strikeout rate and potential. He's 6'3", 210-pound kid, good frame, has plenty of power to, make dents in balls. As long as he's playing every day, I think that this is a pretty awesome value add if you are especially hurting at shortstop, eventually second base and or third base. And he'll need 10 starts at either of those positions to gain eligibility for ESPN owners. And it kind of varies depending on what website it is. But we'll go on to the next player. Ezequiel Duran. I have Ezequiel Duran and Leody Tavaras kind of mixed matched right next to each other. Ezequiel Duran I have specifically first just because he's eligible at third base, shortstop, and outfield. And he's hitting around 300 to 322 so far this year, has a multiple hit game hitting streak of at least 5, and then I don't think he hit the day before. But anyways, he's been super hot this entire month. I have him on my not him, but Leody Tavaras on my other roster. Both these guys are pretty much carbon copies of each other. They're just fast enough. They have good batting average. They're hitting just enough home runs to stay relevant. But just because they're at the bottom of that, usually we don't want guys that aren't outside of the top 5 in any batting order. But just given how many runs in the sheer volume that the Texas Rangers are scoring at this point, having those guys hitting 300 at the bottom of this lineup, immediately followed by, the Marcus Semyons, the Josh Youngs, Corey Seagers of the world right after it. They're scoring a lot of those bonus points. They're not necessarily going to rack up a ton of RBIs, but either one of these players, again, either being Ezequiel Duran, who is only 25% owned and eligible at third base, shortstop, and outfield, and then also Leody Tavaras, who is only owned in 18% of leagues. They're pretty much the same exact player, but again, depending on what you need. Obviously, if Ezequiel Duran's available, I have Leody Tavaras as well, but it's kind of a flip of a coin each day. They're both hitting for average and stealing some bases, and overall just going to be pretty productive. On to sadder news. Nolan Gorman, just the dumpster fire that is the St. Louis Cardinals. Nolan Gorman has lost, he's lost some faith. The first step was them moving him from the 3 hole, which he was consistently hitting all of the beginning of the year. So it started out as a platoon player. So they were only throwing him against right-handed pitching, him being a left-handed batter. And then eventually I think they understood, if he's ever going to figure out how to hit left-handed hitting, he needs to do it as a 23-year-old kid. So they started playing him every single day. He was their most productive bat on roster for most of the season, has gained third base eligibility. So playing third base and second base anytime that Nolan Arenado, who bats every single day, gets a break. Nolan was taking reps over at third base, which is this natural position. Nolan got knocked down from the 3 spot, after struggling for a while, got knocked down from this 3 spot to the, the 7 hole. And then at this point, for the last week or so, he's been only an every other day batter in that lineup. And he's just really, really struggled. So I went for basically a 16, 19, 0 for 23 streak earlier, just this past week. And it seems like there's no reason to have him right now, only because he's not playing every day. Now, Nolan Gorman is a player to absolutely keep your eye on. I'm a big believer. I had him in every single league. I still have him in 2 of my 3 leagues. So it's a player to keep track of, but just the fact that he's not playing every day is the most of the reason why I let him go to the free agent dogs. On to players that we absolutely need to keep track of. So Brian Bello, I've talked about plenty of times before. Strikeout rate is just under kind of what we want, being only 62 strikeouts for 66 innings pitched. But the last basically month that he's pitched, he has been incredible. He had a couple rough starts to begin the very beginning of the year. But if we can, if we can freaking load his profile, he has had an awesome last month of pitching, essentially. If you look at 7 innings pitched, 6.2, 7.76, he's had a quality start every time Okay, so out of his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 last 7 starts, 6 of them have been quality starts, and he has given up less than or 2 runs or less in all but one of those. So it seems to be pretty positive. Kid looking forward to. If he's only in 29% of leagues, I don't trust the Boston offense as much as some other people do, and he didn't get any run support today. He only gave up 1 earned run and earned a loss against Miami, the Miami Marlins of all teams. They couldn't put up any runs to support him, but 7 innings pitched, 2 hits allowed, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. Really awesome day for Bryan, and he's pretty available across all of leagues and kind of still going under the radar. So a guy that I would be confident in having on your roster. The next is Braxton Garrett, and of all of the Miami Marlins starting pitchers, Braxton's been the best, I think, so far this year. Obviously, Yuri Perez has been awesome, but just the fact that Braxton's been in the lineup pretty much the entire season, and he has we've had him plenty of times in the years before. I had him last year on my fantasy teams, and then he was pretty like up and down, kind of a wild. But the strikeout numbers have always been there, which is why he's always on my radar. So he's 11 more strikeouts than innings pitched so far this year, with a 3.53 ERA, and his WHIP is below 1.20. So these are all check marks of guys that we absolutely want to have on our rosters, just because the maximum opportunity for upside is always there. Do we wish that he had a little more run support being on Miami Marlins? Yes, but we always go quality over quantity, and kind of quality over dependency. So independent players over dependent players. He's not going to get a lot of run support really ever. But if you look at just his last several starts, he's had double-digit points just about every time, and hasn't necessarily relied on those wins for those double-digit points each time. So any guy that can get 13 strikeouts across 7 innings is a guy that we want on roster. And if he's also, keeping his ERA below 4, this is a player that we can be confident in, especially if you get bonus points for strikeouts. My one league per strikeout's 5 points. Well, it's 3 points per strikeout. So put out plus the 3 points for a strikeout, 5 points per, out cumulatively. Those are guys that make significant differences on rosters. So Braxton Garrett, if he's available, he's only available in half of leagues, but it's the guy you can absolutely put your trust in and faith into. And I have him last year across most of my leagues. Bryan Wu had a really tough debut. So he is the number 97 overall prospect in all of Major League Baseball. He is a Tommy John recovery guy. So he was a high draft pick, like super high prospect before he tore his Tommy John. And so he came back kind of like under the radar this year, but he is a big strikeout rate guy. So 2022 in the minor leagues, with the Mariners, inside the Mariners system, 2022, 57 innings pitched, 84 strikeouts. So just about 30 more strikeouts than innings pitched. That's always that's a key indicator of somebody that we absolutely want on our roster. And then 2023, 44 innings pitched, and 59 strikeouts across those 44 innings pitched in 2023 in the minors. So far this season, 22 innings pitched, 32 strikeouts. So, he had a really, really rough first couple of games where 2 innings pitched, 6 earned runs, 4 innings pitched, 2 earned runs. But since then, going that at least that 5 innings pitched mark, we're seeing 9, 5, and 7. So he's been plus in all 3 of the last starts, and that's without really any run support. So overall, it's a guy that I think that we can be pretty excited about, given the last 4 games: 20 innings pitched, 28 strikeouts, 2.21 ERA, and a 0.985 WHIP. So Bryan Wu only owned in 11% of rosters. He pitches against the Giants on Monday, and given that it's at San Francisco, big ballpark, I think that he's going to have another really solid outing. So somebody to keep on your radar. So we're on to Colby Allard, who had his debut with the Atlanta Braves just last week. So a couple days ago, June 28th, 4.2 innings pitched. So didn't have enough juice in him to even get to the 5 innings to earn a win against Minnesota, but 4.2 innings pitched and 8 strikeouts. Anytime that we can double that, I mean, that's crazy. So obviously that's only one outing, but given that like this guy, he's going to get one more turn in the lineup at least, with Jared Schuster being sent down to the minors. But again, he was actually really, really efficient. So 4.2 innings pitched, had 8 strikeouts, but he only threw 71 pitches that game. So yeah, say if he was someone who was eventually going to be allowed to throw up to 100 pitches, let's say like down the road, aggregating a lot of the data and kind of putting it, at least projecting the averages. If this is a guy who is able to stretch out another 30 pitches, someone who can absolutely get to that quality start number, being that 6 innings pitched, and possibly double-digit strikeouts with a team that has all of the run support. So Colby Allard obviously only owned in 1.8% of leagues. He might get optioned back down to AAA after his next start against Cleveland on Tuesday. But somebody keep on your radar. If he has another outing where he is essentially doubling, his strikeouts over innings pitched, this is a player that we want to keep on our roster. So, or keep on our minds at least. So that was a really quick video. Hopefully I got through. Oh my gosh, 15 minutes. I freaking did it. Under 30-minute video. Good for us. Good for you guys. Okay. But anywho, that's all I have for you guys. If you guys have any questions about players or strategies or anything, let me know. And have a good weekend. All right. Bye.